prize. Brent is going to go first. Or was that just the pass thanks to Iron Hands? Usually Lugia likes to go first, but regardless, it is going to be the Buddy Puffin. Now we're seeing Cleffa come out to play here. I really want to take a look at these prizes, Jeremy, because having your Forest Sealstone prize, you never want to see it all the way up at the top of the prizes.
Yeah, along with that one of Clap Stadium. We didn't see it come in handy last game, but it is one of those ways to get rid of those extra two-prize Pokemon that you don't really want on the bench after the first couple turns. Counter Catcher there as well. There's 2 copies, so not going to be too bad. And yeah, Lugia likes to always go first, but maybe chose to go second just because Charizard's very good at going second.
Could be true. And shuffling up here. Definitely don't see a Charmander down just yet here. Maybe it's in hand at this point. There it is. I was about to say, Buddy Puffin for no Charmander was definitely throwing me off a little bit. But let's head on over into Kieran's side here, that Capturing Aroma. Once again, you get heads, you get to grab a evolution Pokemon, you get tails, you get to grab a basic. So we don't see the Lugia just yet, but we can always assume in turn 1 or turn 2, if we're flipping heads, we're just going to go on ahead and get our win condition into the deck, and that's going to be that Archeops.
Yeah, I just noticed Kieran's shirt there, kind of looking like I'm missing though.
The drip, if you will.
Yeah, Capturing Aroma is one of those cards that Lugia V-Star is kind of forced to play. You'd much rather it just be a simple guaranteed search for your evolution or basic, but you have to work with what you get. I don't know if you really want to play Great Ball too much, so it's one of those cards where you just have to hope those flips are on your side. And there is triple Archeops, Professor's research here after attaching that double turbo energy to the Iron Hands. Lugia V-Star, or Lugia V on the bench, ready to evolve into the V-Star next turn and get things going.
This is a great turn coming out from Kieran. We have tons of opportunities next turn also to get things going. We also see Jacq, where we're able to grab 2 evolution Pokemon out of the deck. We had another Capturing Aroma. I believe there's also an Ultra Ball in hand too. This hand is great for Kieran. Like we said, I mean, you can't ask for anything more than 2 Archeops in your discard pile your first turn.
Now we see Pidgeot EX in the hand for Brent, has an Ultra Ball available. Not sure if there was an actual supporter. Well, I guess Lumineon V can solve that for us.
Yeah, Luminous Sign, also another one of those abilities that is a fantastic way to kind of get yourself back into the game just through a Pokemon. But the thing is, it does become a bench liability just like Squawkabilly does, but definitely playing Professor Turo's scenario helps you offset that. So we are going to go on ahead and grab the Arven. We're already grabbing Hero's Cape Rare Candy here. So I want to see exactly what Brent is thinking in the hand, because honestly, that's very interesting that we're already going for the Hero's Cape. But like we said, we got a lot of evolves right now. There's Pidgeot EX coming down where we're able to use that quick search ability. Like we said, one of the best abilities in the game. You're able to really just go on ahead and grab whatever you want from this deck.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
If Brent's planning on using this Grasping Draw for this turn,
yeah,
do you Hero's Cape the Cleffa to get it out of range of Ampy very much?
The strongest Cleffa I have ever seen. And you know what, Jeremy? Why not? If you, honestly, anything else at this point, you definitely don't want to kind of like throw to the wind. But the problem is you also now played Lumineon too. That Iron Hands is already there. It could just be Kieran finding his own Lumineon for boss's orders. And then, oh, there it is. It's not going on the Cleffa, it's going on the Lumineon. You know what? I like Brent's kind of safeguard play, right? Why lose 3 prizes when you could only just lose 2 at this point?
I guess.
That's what we like to call risk management, Jeremy.
Especially when your opponent's playing 4 boss's orders. Most likely going to have that supporter be played on that Lumineon anyway. So I believe that was, yeah, Tails. So no Lugia V-Star just yet for Kieran. Might be forced to play that Jacq.
I love that card too. It really kind of took over for Professor Burnett in its own different way, because Burnett just discarded the Archeops into the discard for you, but now Jacq is like, it can go into your hand and then you can discard it, but it essentially does the same thing here. But I think something that I wanted to point out is, yes, we can Legacy Energy our Iron Hands here. But then we throw ourselves back into kind of the conundrum of when does Cinccino get its like time to have Legacy Energy? And so far, we just haven't really seen it have its time here. But there is Ultra Ball, and we do see, of course, the Summoning Star that grabs Archeops out of our discard, just throws it onto the bench here. But we could be seeing the Legacy Energy going on to Iron Hands for an Ampy very much.
Yeah, I think when you start it, you kind of are forced into it, but anytime you're able to grab 2 prizes against a deck like Charizard, you're really just kind of have to do that. You want to keep up in the prize trade as much as possible. Granted, it does mean that Charizard's going to be able to come back and take a knockout on the Iron Hands EX, but thanks to the Legacy Energy, it's only 1 prize.
And that's why this deck, for a lot of people, they struggle with, because the prize trade then kind of goes awry here. But I like what Kieran is doing by throwing Gift Energy onto the Minccino. Just in case it does get knocked out, we get to draw up to 7 cards. As long as we have enough for a draw, we can just draw cards off of a knockout. Really like this just safeguarding here, but still, we're going to thin this deck all the way down considering the Ultra Ball here. But still, going to be able to use the Jacq finally, grab a Lugia VSTAR and that Cinccino for next turn.
Pretty good here. You can even thin out the deck a little bit more, discarding that Lugia VSTAR. Does have to get rid of a Jet Energy, though, which, again, Lugia does play a lot of energies, 17, but each and every one is so precious. To really close out the game, you have to manage your resources perfectly.
And there's 0 way to get energy, to get special energy, I should say, back into the deck too. I think we have Super Rod and Superior Energy Retrieval for our basic energy, but special energy, once it's gone, I mean, it's pretty much gone. So speaking of gone, it is going to be an Ampy very much coming out from Kieran's Iron Hands EX here. And we are going to be able to take these 2 prizes. We get a double turbo energy out of the prizes and another Lugia V, but here we go. It's going to be that Dusknoir coming down to play here, that Cursed Blast. I think Brent's going to launch it.
Yeah, maybe this Minccino going to the discard, those 2 energies along with it, but you just want to limit the resources as much as possible so your Charizard EX can survive.
Quick search here for Pidgeot, and whenever you quick search with Pidgeot, it's usually just for the missing Charizard piece that you just don't have in hand. But as you can tell, it is going to be that rare candy Charizard EX using that Infernal Rain ability where you are able to grab 2 fire energy straight out of the deck and attach them. Still, I mean, it's a great, great ability. And honestly, Big Bad Charizard last year was really dominating the meta for a little bit. I'm happy to see it kind of now met with some very formidable opponents.
Yeah, you're saying that, but it's still dominating the meta here.
True.
Brent is 6-0 to start things off in Baltimore for this season, and it's looking like a pretty good hand, even facing down the double Archeops Summoning Star turn 2, Iron Hands, take an extra prize card.
I'm interested to see what the supporter line is going to be. It's the counter catcher. I would love to see the counter catcher onto the Minccino here. So we're just taking out threats left and right here. And I think a lot of the times players say, oh, well, I could go for a 2-prize knockout instead of just a 1 prize. But the real threat for Charizard in this deck are the Minccinos and the Cinccinos here. So I'm really liking Brent's line here, plus the Iono to just add the cherry on top of a turn full of pain.
Yeah, and you actually saw Kieran kind of pause for a moment and take a look at his hand just to see what cards are going to go to the bottom of the deck and what resources you kind of have available. There is that knockout, and getting rid of both Minccinos in play in 1 turn, that's what you want to see when you're Charizard EX.
Absolutely. Great stuff coming out from Kieran, but Kieran already has a plan. Already going to that Primal Turbo here. See how we can go on ahead and power up Lugia VSTAR that we still have. There are still routes that we have, Jeremy, but the routes are just a little bit different now. We have to go for more of this traditional play. I think it's also important to note out now that Hero's Cape is on that Lumineon, Ampy very much for 3 prizes doesn't work. Ampy very much with a double turbo energy attached to Iron Hands also doesn't knock out Pidgeot either. So we'll see what Kieran has up the sleeves here. Has a boss's orders. Do we just go for an Ampy very much on a Charmander?
Yeah, maybe, honestly. Do that, and then you can hopefully clean up one of these Pokemon with a combination of Lugia VSTAR and Wyrdeer or Bloodmoon Ursaluna. We do see Boss's Orders in hand, but it's also along with that Professor's Research. But Boss's Orders is the option, Charmander, to the active.
I really like this play too because you can see how Kieran is kind of safeguarding the board at this point because we are setting up for that Wyrdeer play, right? We were talking about this Frontier Road. Once during your turn, when Wyrdeer moves into the active, Wyrdeer gets to take all of that energy with Wyrdeer. And if we have tons of energy out on the board already, hitting Charizard, a full HP Charizard for 330 hit points is not a tough task. So Iron Hand's doing a lot of the work in this matchup. It's been an excellent game so far.
Yeah, Wyrdeer loading up the sleigh when it goes to the active spot, dealing out a lot of presence of pain.
It's very true. Solo checking out the discard here. Honestly, if you're Brent, what is the line that you go for here? Because Ampy very much is not too dangerous, right? So we could leave the Iron Hands. Do we take one of the Archeops with Counter Catcher so it doesn't hurt that bad? Or what would you do in this situation?
It's a little bit awkward. Maybe even Lugia VSTAR could be the option, but again, you're leaving so much energy in play. But any of those 3 Pokemon that you knock out in the 2 Archeops and the Iron Hands EX all have Gift Energy on it. So if you knock it out by damage, Kieran's going to draw until he has 7 cards in hand, so Iono's not really an option this turn unless you do take a knockout on that Lugia VSTAR. Does have access to a counter catcher still in the deck, and grabbing the Charmander here means I think we're going to see, I don't know, it's a liability on the bench, but there is the Iono.
Yeah, so going to shuffle all of those cards to the bottom of the deck, and Kieran is just going to draw 1 big card. Brent is going to draw 4 and see what we got. There's the counter catcher in hand. No quick draw required for that one.
We still see the quick search here for potentially something. Looks like the Turo maybe for next turn. But drawing the counter catcher, we're going to see that Lugia VSTAR get knocked out, leave just those 3 Pokemon in play, 2 cards in hand after the turn, draw for turn. This will be essentially the next few turns of the game.
Yeah. I like the grabbing of the Professor Turos as well. So though counter catcher, like we said, on to Lugia VSTAR here. So it is just going to be the retreat and the knockout with that Burning Darkness. We
have a Capturing Aroma here. If it's a Tails, that is just game over. Oh, it was a heads.
So close.
We do have a Professor's Research in hand, though, for Kieran. So pretty easy draw there off the Iono to 1, being able to draw 7 new cards and hopefully get it. We're going to see the Primal Turbos here just extend more energy in play. That way you don't draw into them. And all of this energy is really relying on this Wyrdeer from these 7 cards.
This is definitely the most interesting way I've seen thinning, quite possibly ever. But as they say, thinning is winning. And as long as we're able to thin our deck enough, we can just find that Wyrdeer. I do believe a lot of our ball search is also down too. I do believe Ultra Ball is down. So we really kind of have to hit, we have to hit Bloodmoon Wyrdeer, excuse me, just straight through. Professor's Research. This could be it right here, Jeremy.
Big 7 cards, Ultra Ball. You just have the Wyrdeer V anyway, and we're going to a game 3, Emily.
Yeah, super exciting game. Really great stuff from both players, but we love to see Kieran come back. We are going to be seeing a game number 3. Like we said, as long as you thin all the way down and you're very careful with your resources, Kieran not only did draw the Wyrdeer V, but he also drew the Ultra Ball anyway to grab it.